Hello ladies and gentlemen, greetings from Pattaya in Thailand. It's that time of month once again for my monthly Patreon Q&A. Yeah, basically once a month I give all my $5 patrons the opportunity to ask me questions. So for anybody who is on my Patreon list, feel free to write some questions down on my Patreon page and I will answer them within these videos. Basically, every one of you who support me on there, it genuinely really does help me out. In the last couple of months, I have added a GoPro to my arsenal and this amazing microphone in which you can hear me talking on right now. A Rode microphone to be precise. So anyway, I'll get through to some of these questions for you. First question from new patron Tony Nix. If you were to headline WrestleMania against a wrestler of your choice, past or present, and that match was then made into a video game, which system would you want it to be on? Past or present? That's quite an interesting question, I suppose, but the answer's pretty easy. I am going to say No Mercy for the N64 in terms of wrestling games, because that's my personal favourite, and of course against Stone Cold Steve Austin in the Attitude Era. First of all, because Stone Cold Steve Austin drew more money than any wrestler in history in a very short period of time. Well, yeah, he drew more money over a short period, I should say, than any other wrestler. So, yes, I'd like to wrestle Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania on No Mercy. And apart from that, I think he would be the perfect opponent for myself, as he's basically some dirty redneck bald-headed bitch, isn't he? So I'd love to give him a bloody good slap and a thorough walloping. Wouldn't that be fancy? Yeah. Next question, a few from Edward O'Reilly. Edward's got the right idea. He likes to ask me a few questions. He did this last month as well. How much time do you dedicate to playing games, and can you play 2 or more games at the same time? Like playing 2 different game types, one after another. I mainly like to focus on one game at a time and try to complete it over a period of time before moving on to the next game. You see, Edward, the way in which I play games, I suppose, is again, like you said, I would tend to have one core game in which I will play over a period of time, and at the same time I will play retro games in short bursts for their pick up and play nature. The main game I'm playing at the moment is Puzzles and Dragons on the 3DS, and every now and then I'll pick up my JXD gaming tablet as well, and I'll have a bust on like NES, SNES games, etc. for like 20 minutes at a time. So yeah, that's basically how I'm playing games at the moment. Next question from Edward O'Reilly. Getting back to this month's questions, when you're back from travelling in Asia, are you planning to do videos on your GBA game collection, DS collection of games, like what you have done with your SNES and NES game collection? Well, that's quite a good question, Edward. As of December, I shall be moving back into my home. So as of December, I will have my game collection all set up again. So I'll be able to do game room tours and all sorts of nonsense like that, basically. So yeah, I'd love to show off more of my stuff, especially, like you said, I'd like to think my DS collection and 3DS collection are really, really strong, because obviously those are platforms that have came out since I've been a solid collector. So I'd like to think I've got most of the quality games for both of those platforms. Next question from Andrew Potts. Do you plan on doing a feature on the Sega Mega CD anytime soon? I asked this as I would love to hear your thoughts on it. Well, you see, I do own a Mega CD, but unfortunately at this stage I only own about 7 games. It's a system I've not really got that much into yet, and before I make a video on something I like to have a really thorough opinion on the matter. So you will not be seeing a Mega CD video from myself anytime soon, unfortunately. But as my collection grows and I have more experience on the platform, of course I'd like to make one. But like I said, I really like to have a big collection for a platform before I make a video on it. So once I've built up a good Mega CD collection, I will make a Mega CD video. Yeah. Next question from Jarrett Tolzian. What meal did you enjoy most during your visit to America? American bloody food. Oh my god. Yuck. And no, to be fair, it's probably not that bad. The problem I had, obviously I was travelling up and down the country for 3 months solid, staying mostly in motels, so therefore I had no access to cooking facilities other than obviously rubbish microwaves. So I literally had to binge on junk food for 3 months straight. It was bloody disgusting, I tell you. I felt ill most of the time I was in that country because of that problem. Yeah, so I've got to say I had enough of the junk food. I got really addicted to one particular junk food chain called Panda Express, which was succulent Chinese meals, basically, which I rather enjoyed. Something what was a nice change of pace though, something that really annoyed me about American food is for some reason if you ever got any greens with your food, it would usually be crappy like rabbit food, like salad, like crap lettuce and stuff like that. Well, I don't know why a man would ever want to eat lettuce. Like if you're going to eat greens, eat like real greens. Like what's wrong with curly cow, broccoli, Brussels sprouts? That's all nice greens, but for some reason in America it'd just be like salad, tomatoes. It was horrible. But speaking of that, there was one American green dish which I rather enjoyed, and I will say that was probably the favourite food I discovered in America. It was actually, I later learned that I was eating a vegetable called zucchinis, which I must say I have never actually seen anywhere in Europe. They probably are in Europe because bloody everything in America comes from Europe. It's New World bollocks, isn't it, essentially? So everything's just imported from our world, like all in terms of ideologies, etc. But yeah, zucchinis. I discovered zucchinis in the New World. Yeah. Next question, Andreas Larsson. Which video game character is most like the Top Hat Gaming Man? And which video game character do you personally identify with most? That is a rather tricky, odd question, isn't it? What I'm going to say is Waluigi, because I feel he's a rather handsome chap and vastly underappreciated, just like myself. And a man's a trier, so we'll say Waluigi. Question from Ian A. Chapman. Do you listen to podcasts? If so, any recommendations? I don't listen to very many, Ian, to be honest. I've always considered myself more of a visual man than I would an audio one. But I did always enjoy the Ricky Gervais podcast with Steve Merchant and Carl Pilkington. I think Carl Pilkington is a much smarter man than people give him credit for. Everything he says is essentially based on common sense, and I think he's a lot smarter than people give him credit for. Although, let's be honest, Ricky Gervais is getting a little bit annoying these days, isn't he? All I ever see from him is basically virtue signalling on Twitter. He's just become one of those typical scumbag celebrities who thinks he's basically knows better than everyone else. He's a bloody comedian, for God's sake. Why would anybody give a crap about his political opinions? Stick to what you know best, Ricky. Just make stuff like The Office and stuff like that. Nobody gives a crap on how you apparently think Donald Trump is the next Hitler, you bloody idiot. How many Jews has bloody Donald Trump killed? None, you fucking moron. Final question of the day from Shooter Q. THGM. If a gamer were to play one and only one Final Fantasy game, which would you suggest and why? That's an extremely easy question for me to answer, my friend. I am going to say Final Fantasy bloody 7. The game is near perfect in my opinion. It has an immersive storyline, it has great music, and the gameplay mechanics are fantastic. I think the battles are paced extremely well in comparison to a lot of other JRPGs. Basically, I think anybody who tries to claim, Final Fantasy VII is only considered one of the best JRPGs of all time because of nostalgia, well, I think people who say that are bloody complete morons. What an ignorant and obnoxious assumption to make! It's absolutely outrageous. It's considered a great game because it is a great bloody game. I've even introduced the game to newer players who missed the game out in the time period. And even they have gone on to tell me after they've played it, that was one of the best games I've ever played. Because it really is. The game's brilliant. It's all round. The graphics may be a bit primitive, I will give them that. But at the same time, they're not bad enough that it would affect the gameplay experience in any way. Like, the controls aren't bad, are they? Like, for example, you played the original Tomb Raider game, for example. That was a game what a lot of people loved at the time, but nobody gives a crap about it now because the controls are really bad and it's really primitive. Final Fantasy VII does not have those problems at all. There is no point in Final Fantasy VII where you will feel uncomfortable and think, I'm having trouble playing this. The analog stick, it doesn't even have analog, does it? But it doesn't handle very well. It handles bloody perfectly. So Final Fantasy VII is bloody brilliant. And anybody who disagrees with me can go fuck themselves. Cheerio!